So welcome everybody on this beautiful Friday. Thank you for listening and tuning in. This is the second episode of my podcast, and I have an amazing guest. It's a Vikram. I can't pronounce your last name, and it's so important for me.
Swaminadhan.
Swaminadhan. And you know what? His name is so gorgeous and beautiful. Do you want to tell us what the meaning is?
Well, actually, thank you for this opportunity. And it's actually Vikramaditya Swaminadhan. I luckily was able to cut out the middle bit because they made a mistake on my passport when I was around 11 years old.
Okay.
So they made it a middle name. So Vikramaditya means son of power, and Swaminadhan means teacher of the Lord. So it's kind of a difficult name to live up to.
Yeah, it is definitely. But you know what, Vic, I love having you on because there's not many people that I meet that has this magnificent energy. Like I connect to a lot of people. I love human being. As you know, this is the podcast for celebrating individual average Joe like you and I that done amazing stuff. But I don't have this often. We don't know each other for very long, but it's something about your energy and your presence. I just like today I was driving back from the doctor and my blood test and all this thing that I've been not wanting to do. And when I was driving, I thought about you. I did like some visualization, and it's the energy that you put out. And that's why I'm so thrilled to have you on board. So thank you for being a part of my life and just meeting. There's something about you and I that we're supposed to meet. It's this pure energy.
Thank you, Ree. I may have to say the same for you. You have an angelic kind of aura around you. And, they say the souls recognize each other through vibration and not appearance. So that's probably why we connect so well. It's through vibration. And that's what's happening more and more as we, recognize other souls with the same vibration.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I can see that, you're a pure, authentic soul. That's the vibration I get from you. So, I mean, it's wonderful that we met by chance.
Yes. And I don't actually, I think nothing is ever really a coincidence. There's people that are going to come in our life and they kind of leaves, but others stays for a longer one. I hope you stay. And the funny thing is today's topic is going to be about spirituality and also about creations and invention. And I've asked the universe, I think I would say maybe about a year ago, I've always envisioned I have so many dreams because I dream big, as you know, probably. But I've asked the universe if they could send somebody on my path who is just as crazy about inventing something that's going to revolutionize and change people's lives. And here you are on my path. So I'm so like touched. And at the same time, I'm so thrilled. So it's going to be an amazing podcast today. Can't wait to see what's going to come out.
Thank you, Ree. I would agree with everything. I would say the crazy part I agree with. I don't know about the rest. I definitely am crazy. I don't consider myself normal.
I think you're crazy fun, but that's part of the inventive side that you have. Yeah. I want to be able to highlight you. I want to say like Vic has done so many things in his life. I mean, he's done many part of his career. He's going to talk all about it. But what I want to highlight today is really about the magnificent person that he is. And I love having a man on my podcast. I mean, I love women, but I like the duality of it. And there's nothing that fascinates me more than both energy at the same time. So I'm so thrilled that my second guest is actually a male and it happens to be you.
Thank you.
So I want to be able to highlight you in terms of spirituality because you've done a lot of work. You've gone to India, you really study it a lot. And you also, as your career as well, you're doing spiritual healing. If you can talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. Let's give you a brief intro, starting from when I was a kid growing up. I grew up in India for the first 5 years of my life. I was pretty much alone because my father was a tea planter. And so the closest neighbor was about an hour away. Mm-hmm. So I pretty much grew up on my own with nature. And so my greatest friend was my imagination. Mm-hmm. So I had to use my imagination, go out and imagine that I'm digging up gold or, finding, shooting a wild animal or, so it was first 5 years like that. And then from 5 to 10, I moved more to a smaller city where I made a lot of friends. Yeah. But there again, growing up in India in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have access to the toys and stuff that you got in the West. So I made my own toys, so I would
Right.
fashion them out of, we called it thermocol, but I think it's called styrofoam. So, I would dig
Okay.
out bolts and then, make a propeller using a rubber band and a matchstick and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what kept me occupied. I mean, today my kids tell me, Papa, I'm bored. I said, well, bored is the best thing you can be, because
Yes.
then you get to do creative stuff.
That's
But
it.
so if there's no Wi-Fi, I'm bored. So anyway, the times have changed, but I'm glad that I didn't have access to any of that when I was growing up.
And I think that that's a really fascinating thing, in the sense that nowadays, I mean, we're kind of bombarded with a whole lot of technology. The kids are very, very adept and very skilled at it, but imagination is slowly it feels like it's fading away. And that's something that I want to bring back as well. And I'm so happy to have you on, because you've tried so many stuff and you did many invention, which we're going to be able to look at. And I can't wait for people to see it, and all these ideas that you have. But I think to be able to bring the curriculum of creativity back into school setting, it would be so good, because we are so bombarded by how things should be, societal's expectation. Kids are supposed to perform, they're supposed to be good in science, good in math, and all this thing, but we don't focus so much about creativity. And if you look
Yeah.
about how life has evolved, the evolution, it's based on people who have great imagination. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be able to touch that. I'm going to let you talk about your different invention, what you've gone through, things you tested
Yeah.
out in India.
Well, I'm going to go kind of all over the place. So I'm going to talk about, kids and what inspires me first about creativity.
Yes.
So when a child is born, they're pretty much like, empty sponges. They're waiting to absorb. And I would say from the age of 0 to 5, they're pretty much, natural beings. They are creative. They're 99.9% of them are creative. And then what happens is from the age of 6 or 7, depending on which schooling they're going through, then, the schooling system starts changing them. So no more free play. Their imagination starts getting constricted, and they're told a lot about what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
And this is the beginning of the end of their creative self-esteem. So I call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. So most of us are born with the self-fulfilling prophecy saying, I am creative, therefore I am. We're also born saying, I am spiritual, therefore I am. But we don't think of that part of it, right? So what happens is, at the age of 20, only 5% of these kids are creative or have this self-fulfilling prophecy saying, I am creative.
Yeah.
So it's education that kills it to a large extent, but it's also, and then you find that when we become 40, 40 to 50,
yeah,
they call it midlife crisis, but a lot of us are trying to rediscover exactly what we were in our childhood, because we were, ambitious and, confident young adults. Then we've just been screwed over by the education system. Sorry. But, so a lot of people go back to that. And the people who are, I wouldn't say successful, but who are happy are the ones who keep that childish streak in them and are confident of going through their life just being themselves, their authentic selves as children.
Yes. And I think you touch a really, really important point, because so many things going through my head. Like I have like rapid fire of different things when I'm fascinated by the things that you tell me. And because there's so many thoughts going and I'm losing them all at the same time, trying to grasp on one, but there's one I caught. Yeah. Okay. So the first one is about kids being creative. It's the funniest thing you said, because oftentimes when I want to be courageous, or when I want to confront a certain challenge that's difficult in my life, I go back often to asking my younger version of who I am. Like I see my younger version at the age of 7 or 8 years old and say, what would you have done if you were me, like in this position right now, without all the preconceived idea of what I should and should not be doing? What would you be doing right now? And I find when I do that, it gives me the courage to carry on. And she also reminds me, and this is like the younger Reese, she reminds me of who I truly am and how I can live my true authentic self, and being imaginative, being not scared. And I remember my father telling me once, Like I was close to, let's say 38, and he made a remark because he happened to be in the hospital. He had a heart attack, and we weren't sure if he was going to make it. He made it just on time. My mom called the ambulance just on time, but it was a very scary period for us. And when I went to pick him up, he told me, I was driving, and then he told me I did something that he didn't really think it was great. And then he kind of made a remark. Of course, being a dad, and especially an Asian dad, they're a little bit more strict, but he meant it in a good way. So I already know. But he said, whatever happened to the younger you, like who weren't scared, who always dared, and you were like the bossy kid, always teaching everybody what to do. And I'm going to be a teacher and stuff. Like whatever happened to that version of you? Like now you're more scared, a little bit more timid. And I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, whatever happened to that young creative who were completely not scared of anything, fearless. And so I try to tap in a lot to that. So I think you brought a really good point. I always still remind my kid, don't be scared to be who you are. And I push a lot in terms of their creativity. So it'll be like our older adult self. If we can tap part of it into that, we can come up with like a two version of the true you and the new version of you, and still make something amazing out of the two.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. I mean, the future is, for example, when I used to record my kids when they were young, saying, what do you want to be? And some would go, I want to be a pig, and my daughter would say, I want to be a dancer and a dentist and a musician and an actor and all that. I said, that's wonderful. Yeah. But now today, she's 17 and she doesn't know what she wants to do, but she knew between the age of 5 and 10, we all know what we want to be.
Yeah.
And so if you can record or keep and think of your kids and keep them on that, because you know what, the world's their oyster. As long as today's jobs are all about, I'm a doctor, but I love design and I love gardening and I love spirituality. Why don't I combine them all and get my own unique mix?
Yes.
That's what it is. It's not about, I'm going to be an engineer, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be, exactly that. So the world is changing. Everyone's doing exactly what they want to do and combining these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as my main thing as an inventor is that everything is interconnected, and that we have the fun job of finding the connections.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, just randomly connect. And, Einstein connected something long ago, which nobody's able to disprove, but I'm sure we could come up with more stuff, I mean, like, it's an open field.
Exactly. And it's find the connection with everything. It is an amazing discovery. It's almost very magical, I would say. I don't know what's happening lately, honestly, Vic, but I'm just happy to be with you today, to be present. I have to say, like today, I don't feel as anxious as I normally do. I used to be like a girl who's very easygoing, going with the flow. I rarely panic or worry. Like in the moments of crisis, I'm the best person to be around. Because I crack everything down one thing at a time. It's not the case with my boyfriend, but I gotta love him anyway. He has other strength, but I just find myself being very peaceful when I'm around you. So what I was trying to say with regards to that, when you are nowadays, people are kind of mixing and coming up with their own flavor, which is something that is quite amazing. I think true invention comes out when you are actually being real and authentic, by making it, I think invention or made, you can inspire from a thought and an idea that already exists and expand on it, or you can come up with your own, which is a little bit harder. But normally I would think, and don't quote me on it, I might be wrong, but I think invention is like you see something that already exists, a mop or something, and somebody said, how can I make this better? Because there's always room for improvement. And that's when you're able to invent it and combine it with something that is your own flavor. Because if you wait, this is what I've learned, is same thing like with Facebook or any other invention, or the lady who created the vacuum, or I don't even know if it's a lady. The lady was the one with the mop. But when you create something, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just wait for somebody to invent it to solve my problem. The best person to solve your problem is you. So I think when you come up with the invention, however it succeed or not, you're actually living in your true essence of what you're put on this earth to do. So I think that is you.
That is true. You know why? Because we were created, and so
Yes.
were our parents created, and we were all created.
Yes.
And we are creators. Our number one, what's it called? You know, everyone looks for what is my, what do I have to do in life? You know, what is
Yeah.
my, what's the word for it? What do I purpose in life, right?
Right.
But our purpose in life is to create, no matter what.
Yes. Yes.
Because we have been created, we therefore have to create.
Yes.
So
That's
that's the
true.
number one yearning in all of us, is to create.
Right. To produce and to, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you went back to, so going back to children, and you know, their need to create.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, you start judging the process.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that's where, you know, having worked with spirituality, I see the similarity between spirituality and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, spirituality is being in the now.
Yes.
Now, creativity, you know, you have toddlers, when they're busy doing something, the world is shut out to them.
Yes. Yes.
There's no future, there's no past. They're
No.
totally immersed in the present, right?
Yes.
And that is being in the spiritual zone, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
the analogy between spirituality and creativity is so strong that I had to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like spirituality, last night I went to bed and I was wondering, how do I define spirituality? So I put the question out there, and bang, at 3:38 in the morning, I woke up with the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So an answer, not the answer, but spirituality is the process of knowing yourself
Mm-hmm.
inside, from inside out.
Yeah. Mm.
And when the outside
Yeah.
merges with
Yeah.
the inside seamlessly to be
Yeah.
one, that's
Yeah.
when you've achieved total spirituality. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's a bit
No,
complicated.
that is amazing, because I wonder that debate for a long time. I don't know how it's manifested. And lately, I don't know if you're able to do it too. I just find myself being able to manifest different thing, which was not something I truly necessarily believed before. But there's one thing that I've learned, is that you can know yourself very well, but you also need to have a strong base of spirituality. It's like when I reach the moment where I'm touching with spirituality and connected to some kind of a source, which is, I'm sure you hear that term often, and it almost sounds very cliche, but it's true. And maybe it's true for me. And when I'm connected to my spirituality, that's when I feel like I'm really aligned to my purpose, why I'm put on this earth. But when you're mentioning that with regards to like when we're saying like lately, I just find I don't know what's happening, like, or maybe it's getting stronger. I used to be a kid who is very intuitive, and I get these like premonitions, and not that I really believe in those things, but I do know they exist because
Right.
I practice them in my own life and I make it happen. And I used to think as a kid, I'm a very creative kid, like very in touch with like another sense of energy. But I always thought for a long time that I was weird. But when I was a little kid, 7, 8 years old, I was always consumed into this now and this discovery, this world of invention. And oftentimes my family and my sibling would tell me, oh, she's zoning out again, because I'm getting lost in that world, the imagination, the invention, and it's so amazing. And I think kids should be there. And even us as adults, we lose touch of that. And I noticed with my kid, they have the special ability as well, because they're quite intuitive. And they have a good sense. Like I'm pretty sure it must be some kind of a genetic pass through, but I see them growing, and that ability of creations and imagining thing, it's slowly kind of fading away, because you're kind of seeping into reality or the adult life, and they're still quite young, but they're moving into that. And I see the energy just kind of floating away. So I'm now tapping back into the younger me, and I'm finding I'm able to find the two, like the adult life of who I am, like I know myself more, but I'm touching base with my younger self in the creative zone. And maybe that's magnifying some kind of an energy, and I'm not like an energy, this thing, but
No, I think the energy has changed, really. The energy
yeah.
has changed, and it's easier to manifest now, because if you're in touch with your younger self, Your
Yeah.
younger self believed that anything you think of was possible.
That's right. Yes.
And now, before we gave it to the system, we said, okay, universe, I would like to manifest this. Now you realize you are a creator God yourself. Why are you asking the universe for it when you can do it yourself? So you're coming back to saying, you know what, I can do it myself.
Yeah.
I'm not relying on an outside power.
Yeah.
I am that outside power.
Uh-huh.
So you're coming back to the 5-year-old who says, I can get anything I want to because, that's the way I want to. That's the way I believe it. And that belief is coming through. And now the energy is changed that everybody is able to manifest far easier. A lot of, people who are in tune with that frequency.
Yes. And I don't know, like I can't say that I'm an expert on manifesting. I don't pretend to have any kind of special powers or anything, but I do know for sure I have some sixth sense of different something that was definitely passed on to me. It's not like I can call on something and know. But what I want to say is that for the younger people too, for a long time I ran away from this ability to sense things, to see things, to predict things ahead of time. And I always kind of felt like out of place, like I felt like I was from another planet, just observing Earth, like I'm not from this world. And I always kind of felt different, but I never really judged my different. And I think that really helped me a lot is I actually give myself the permission to be like an extraterrestre, an alien, just observing human on Earth and finding them as this amazing creature, which is lovely. Because when I do say that I celebrate human being, I know I'm a part of them, but I also feel like I'm like from a different place, completely in awe with human being and in awe with you being here apart with me. So manifestation is the way that works for me, which I find I'm able to do more and more of. I don't know why, but it's the like oh God, I can never remember names of authors. When I need it, it just flies out of my brain. But not The Art of Being Rich, famous writer from Carnegie as well. But he said, Napoleon Hill, that's right, Napoleon Hill. So when he wrote the book, it's like to manifesting is you gotta internally believe, has this undying belief that this is gonna be able to happen. What he believed that his son, I think he was deaf. Yeah, I think he was mute or deaf. I can't remember. See, a bad memory. But he had a dying belief that his son was going to be able to speak. So I'm sure he must have been mute, speak or hear. No, it's the hearing. So, and eventually his son did. He was able to articulate. They didn't put him in a special school. They treated him just like any other regular kid. He was no different from any other kid. And the same thing I saw about one of my classmates as well. She had like an amputation of her arm, a smaller arm here. And her name is Marie because I love and adore her. I can't remember her last name, but she definitely left an imprint in my memory as a person. And she had like no arms here. And she went to university at McGill with us, and she never behaved like she's a victim or that she had like a misfortune with her arm. She was bigger than life. And she was like, she radiated, she can do just about anything. And she told me her parent never treated her any differently to any other kid, if not telling her that she was able and special and she was able to do even more. So when I say about manifestation and stuff like that, I don't pretend to know how to do it. I just do know that I can make it happen. Because you have to this is my secret. And it may be different for different people, but if it can help some people in learning how to manifest is, and perhaps you can also articulate into that as well. But manifestation for me, it's really, you have to do it in being the most humble as person as possible. It has to be pure energy. And like you said, like there's this energy that comes in line as one. It's almost your desire and your thought process become one. And you have to be a humble person. Yes.
You're in the flow. basically.
In the flow. That's
So,
right.
so creativity also, I was struggling
Yeah, go ahead.
for a definition, and
Yes.
creativity for me is a process of getting what's inside of you
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
without judgment, deliberation, or expectation.
That's right.
So that's why people, artists who do it because of the passion,
Yes.
that they love it, and not for any expectation, monetary or otherwise, they're the
Yeah.
ones who truly are, do well, because it's a process of getting out what's inside you. So, spirituality is turning you in looking from within, and
Mm-hmm.
creativity is absorbing and then releasing it out. And there's so many people in the world who are
Yes.
creating constantly, and they're at home and nobody sees their work, nobody sees their music, but it is a process.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Mm-hmm.
just fulfilling for them to release that, because that is such a powerful
Mm-hmm.
energy. You just release what's inside of you through a creative effort, whether
Yes.
it's music or drawing or
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So
And that, yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. No, sorry.
But to say about the releasing, I think we all need to release something about who we are. We want to exist and live to our true essence of whatever, I don't know, whoever the creator is. I really do believe that each one of us is a powerful human being in itself, whether it's God or a former God or the descendant of God. I don't know. But I do honestly know within my heart that each one of us has this powerful ability to do stuff, and it's channeling that through ourself, our body, and putting it out through creation, because we all need to be able to express our true authentic self. And I
Yeah.
think to find happiness, when you were talking a little bit about that, in order to find happiness is finding that peace, that centered peace of tranquility, of where you're living to your true essence of who you are, and internally manifesting and putting out the creation to the world for them to see and explore
Mhm.
and teach and learn. And we all have something amazing to give. And one of the late night show that had said it very well, it wasn't David Letterman, because I watched David Letterman. It wasn't Jay Leno as well. It's like the newer one. And he had said something that's very amazing to me, was when I was trying to put out creativity out there. And he said to his friend, because they're both late night show at the same time, and he's like, I don't compete with my friend, because I think there is a spot for creativity for everybody. There's room for everybody. People always think of scarcity when they're like, oh, well, what about if I put out my show and he puts out his, then we'll be in
Yeah.
competition. But he said, you know what? I think that there's a room and space for everybody, which I think every human being does have, that to just really find what is truly your essence for you and putting it out there. Is there any suggestion that you might have,
I
Vic?
I I do for inventors, because I've been through this inventive process for, let's say, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's not like I've made a great invention that I've sold or made a lot of money from. But the
Yeah.
fact is, I keep putting them out. And then you have the inventors who get stuck on one idea,
Yeah.
and it becomes their whole life. And they will go sell their house, mortgage it, do everything to bring this idea to life,
Yeah.
and hold on to it so strongly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Idea. But creativity is not like that. The more you produce, the more comes to you. So the
Mm-hmm.
better you get.
Yes.
So put them out there, and you know what? Okay, so this didn't go, that didn't go. For me, so many, I've done over 100,
Yeah.
and and at least I'm happy to know that at least 20 of them somebody else has come up with, even
Yes.
though I thought of it earlier, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the means to patent or whatever this process.
Mm-hmm.
But the process of doing it has enabled me to think of the creative thinking process and how it works. So
Yes.
how you first, you have to challenge an assumption, and we come back to kids,
Yes.
the questioning process, right? If you allow them to question throughout their lives,
Mm-hmm.
then they'll always challenge assumptions and won't be blocked. They will say, oh, but why does this work this way? Why
Mm-hmm.
does that work that way? and
Because you
breaking
have
through.
techniques, Vic. You have you have like techniques, because I want to be able to forecast that. I want to be able to show too. I don't know if you can share it with your screen, because honestly, you said you did so many invention, and I seen your invention is quite amazing as well. Maybe it haven't became famous, but that's not like the whole point of this thing. I think it's to dare to dream and to invent, to create. That's what I'm here to foster.
So I'm a creator. I'm not a marketer. So I have a lot of inventions, and maybe it's timing or whatever, but I've learned through the process. So for me, I will market it to 3 people. A lot of people like it, and then it doesn't happen. I move on to the next one, because what drives me is the art of creating. Right. So now I have this whole bank of stuff, a lot of stuff. Right? And so I start putting them out there, and I got a patents for a couple of them. They're expensive. Patenting process is a totally different world altogether. Which I don't necessarily agree with. Writing patents and all that, it's kind of closed, right? So you're protecting when you should be giving out and expanding. So it's I'm divided on the whole patenting thing, though I do write patents for people. But what was I going to say? I forgot. The invention process is something that has to come naturally, and it's a natural growth. And there are laws to it. I mean, I've we've written patents between me and a friend of mine for over 1,000 inventors. So we know the thinking process behind it. So, they say necessity is the mother of invention. So you need something, but I might find that my dishwasher is not working properly, and I want a new dishwasher, but I may not have the ability to think that way. So if I am from a young age, so let's say, at 6, 7, you start losing that self-fulfilling prophecy of I am creative. And that's where I want to bring in this curriculum of creative thinking from 6, 7 to 12. And if you can keep that I am creative, therefore I am prophecy strong, then you're good for life after that. Stays with me. So yes, of course.
No, go ahead.
Methods. So, for example, I'm just going to put out a video very soon on how to invent with 3 easy tips. So the first tip is challenge an assumption. So challenge an assumption, and then next is break the rules. What rules can be broken?
Tell us a little bit more about it, because it's really fascinating what you're saying. And so like like talk about that, because you showed me, and you even did a video, and then I have my boyfriend who just happened to pop in. This is part of recording at home, but that's okay. But I want you to be able to show that. Can you show from your screen a little bit some of the invention, or maybe talk about the invention you did? But also let's first start with the 3 assumptions, like the 3 fundamental thing about creativity, and just cover that, and then you can maybe show there you are. You're trying to show. There you go. So no, I love that people can see this. Okay, you can blow it up big, and we'll just be on the side.
Yeah, I'm trying to blow it up. That's the thing. Okay, can you see that?
Yep, we can see it. I can see it. Yeah, it's called Versa Functional Cool Plus Creative. Yep.
So it's basically a tool that I use to teach kids. So it's a pen. It's a simple pen. But what can you do with a simple pen? So the assumption is pens are round. Pens are, you challenge an assumption, right? Pens are rigid. Pens are permanent. And then ink flows down in a pen. So I challenge the assumption, ink flows down in a pen. So how do I challenge it? I reverse and I say ink does not flow down in a pen. It might be a bit difficult because I don't have all the images, but ink does not flow down in a pen. So what happens then? If ink does not flow down, where does it go? Well, then you have inventions like the digital pen and pens that you write on your tablet, right? You don't have ink. Ink does not flow down. Right. Now I reverse the assumption. The assumption is ink does not flow down. Ink flows down. I reverse it to say ink flows up. So now my whole mind is blown apart. I'm saying, okay, ink flows up. How do I write now? I have to write upwards. How do I write downwards? Right? And that becomes my challenge statement. So I've got a pen that writes up. Now, how do I write down? Okay, then we go into breaking the rules. And you say, okay, the rule is that everyone has to write downwards. But why? I mean, people write on their iPads nowadays, upwards, lying down. Why can't a professor lie in bed and correct his exam papers with a pen? So let's break that rule, because the rule was in the old days, you have to write down because ink flows down. But now ink flows up, right? So we can write up. And then we use the last one, which is combining ideas and objects. So this is where I teach the kids, take random objects and combine them together with your pen.
Yes.
So in this instance, I've taken what's called the bendy straw, the straw that bends.
Yes.
And combined it with this to get this particular invention. Because what happens is the ink flows down, but when you tilt the top up, ink continues to flow.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I see, like, are we seeing something else? Because I hear you clicking. Are we supposed to see something? Because I still see the pen, the world first fidget-friendly anti-gravity pen.
Yeah. No, I can't play any videos at the moment, so I'm just trying to zoom out of it so you could see what I'm trying to talk about.
Because I think there's so many amazing stuff that you invented. I want to showcase it. I want people to see it. And like, honestly, people, if you're interested in invention and to support him and stuff like that, definitely reach out, which I'll put in the contact for Vikram. And he needs some marketing specialist. He's a creative and an inventive guy. So if you're looking for an opportunity to really give the pitch and sell it, definitely partner up with this amazing Vikram is one of the best person that you can ever meet for this. But I want you to continue showing and like talking a little bit more. So I think just your idea about invention and just the three concepts that started out, because one, you've already started this in India, wanting to put it into the curriculum in schools.
Yeah.
And so that would be so good if you were actually able to do it here in Canada, like in any kind of school and any kind of setting. I think it's so well needed, and it's something that's lacking and we're slowly losing. I really wish if somebody's hearing and I'm putting it out to the universe, like, please, like, hire my friend Vikram, because he is a genius. Honestly, he's full of idea and the sweetest guy you could ever meet. But I'm putting it out there in the universe in case somebody knows in patent and invention. Like, I'm all for that too. That's something that I want to tap in more. So I'm happy to be talking to you about creativity and kind of challenging what you were saying, like challenging. But it's funny that you said creation and then spirituality, and then I'm thinking all these concepts applies in life as well. Because if you're talking about like challenging not being a rebel, challenging the assumption, that's right. And then the second one was
breaking the rules.
And then the third one was combining all the different concepts to put it all together.
Yeah, so you combine ideas. For example, if I have a pen and I have a mug, I take the form of this and I combine it here. I take the function of this, I combine it with this.
Yes.
I take the texture, I take the color, I take the experience, I take the emotion. So that's one of the things that I've come up with, is the process of how you can combine, and so these are the techniques you use to come up with new ideas.
And I like the ideas that you had spoken to me about, as well as taking like random object. Remember how you told me about the eagle? And can you please like expand on that? Because I find it's great.
So when I started doing workshops for corporates, we used to do ideation workshops. One of the exercises was that I would give cards of various animals.
Yeah.
The animals they would combine. So in a motorcycle company, they would take an alligator and the motorcycle and combine the functional, the form, the texture, the utility. So let's say an example is if you took an iPhone and you wanted to develop an app for it, and you get an eagle card, by mistake. So you say, oh, the eagle. I can have a phone that's shaped like an eagle, or I can have an eagle that's shaped like a phone, or I can have the function of the eagle, which is the eagle can look from high above and spot something far below, right? My phone can't do that. But we know we have Google Maps now and we can see it. So, combining the two, you could be outside the Eiffel Tower or the pyramids and press the app and a satellite takes a zoom in video of you from outer space, standing
Yeah.
outside, hi, and then send it to your phone in seconds. So
Mm-hmm.
this is just taking random objects, right?
Yeah.
So creativity comes not from within, but from the most remote corners. That's where you get
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really.
And I think that is so great because we got to challenge it to see differently. I know, and people hear it all the time, like thinking outside of the box. But what does that really mean? And it's a perfect alignment with what you're saying. Is really creativity. Is really the inspiration comes from random area. It could be a bird. It could be a plant. It could be whatever you see, and then incorporating it. When you're saying that, I find it fascinating about car companies or motorcycle company going, okay, a crocodile and a motorcycle, what about the traits and the characteristic of a crocodile that we can incorporate into a motorcycle? It's genius. Like it's so unconventional, but yet so amazing. And it reminds me, like, I always try to take a concept and see if I can try to transfer that concept in every aspect of my life, which is what you're saying. Creativity allows you to do that, which is fabulous.
Yep. So see, these workshops which I was doing for corporates was
Yeah.
great. But then by accident, somebody asked me to do children. She owned a school and she said, can you do the kids? And I said, sure. So I started with 9th grade to 12th grade and they loved it, So I had a curriculum and they loved it. And so they were like sponges. But the younger they were, the more they would just grab onto it.
Yes.
So I did them over here for the Chamber of Commerce in Montreal. I did them free for a couple of schools. One school in particular, I found all the kids were, they were not paying attention, fidgeting a bit. So I asked the teacher afterwards, I said, the kids really didn't enjoy this. I said, no, this is our learning difficulty class. I've never seen them so attentive in any class before as they are having this. So they had learning difficulties, but they loved the subject creative thinking.
Yeah.
They couldn't take any other, and all the reviews I've got from kids is, why isn't this being taught as a subject?
I have an amazing question to ask you. Let's just throw it out there in the universe that some kind of school, McGill, Concordia, anywhere, a CEGEP, any school that are hearing this and are fascinated by what you have to showcase and share with the world. Let's just assume the most prestigious of school is approaching you and they want to be able to hire you for a curriculum for teaching kids, because I think it is amazing and it's so needed. So let's assume you were to be able to do that. What would that dream look like for you if you were teaching? I want to be able to manifest it in the world, but also to really call on people to say, hey, this guy he's a genius in itself. He's like super, super educated, but so good at what he does. And if he gets a chance to the ability to teach this, it's all of us benefit. Our children benefit, we benefit, the society, the world benefit, because it's from our evolution and evolving and invention that makes us go further. So let's just say
thank you Ree. Putting it out there. But I started work on this and we've written a curriculum between me and a colleague of mine who've been working on it, but that was in India and there's a lot of demand, and I was stuck in India. As you know, last year I wasn't allowed to come back to Canada because there was a ban. And I got this ball rolling there, but now I'm back here and my kids are here. So that is where the challenge lies, is trying to balance life between India and Canada. And so if something happened in Canada, fantastic, but there I have the wherewithal, the means, and the people, to put this in place.
Yes, that's it. So we're hoping if somebody wants to hear about it, to learn more, because he has actually developed a curriculum in teaching kids and expanding their curriculum and not their curriculum, their creativity. We talk about a lot in school. You hear critical thinking, but I think in order to get to critical thinking, you must have creativity to start off with.
My daughter is now enrolled and she has critical thinking, and I looked at the curriculum and I was like, I couldn't understand anything. It was so obscure, and I was like, oh, if this is so difficult to teach, my creative thinking is so much easier because it's gone through 12 years of me doing it with kids, and we got to a process where we know you cannot teach a subject like you cannot teach creativity
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't teach spirituality.
That's right.
You can teach about spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
and I can teach about creativity. So in spirituality, I can teach you meditation, I can teach you chakra healings, I can teach you manifestation techniques.
Mm-hmm.
In creativity, I can teach you how creative thinking methods, how
Mm-hmm.
to painting, drawing, music, all the different things, and that all comes together and
Mm-hmm.
gets you to be more creative, become more creative.
Yeah.
So it's all, and it's non-judgmental. So
Yeah.
you can't have a curriculum that says, oh, you did this wrong. No,
Yeah.
creativity is nothing about being wrong. It's about
Mm-hmm.
getting your own, that I am creative, therefore I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Build that up.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a creative thinking curriculum is just getting you confident in the process of being creative.
That's it. I also want to highlight the fact that you do healing as well. So apart from which I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, like he's really all about creativity, which works align well with spirituality. But you also do as your second job as well, and we want to push that out. Is that you do some healing, and it's healing from trauma from in your younger past life as well.
For the last 15 years, I've been doing different modalities, and I finally, coming up, I was helping friends to clear childhood traumas, past life traumas, and then
Mm-hmm.
childhood traumas, and then from there on up to where they are at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it stems from when you are as a child.
Mm-hmm.
For example, poverty consciousness, where you feel you're poor, is when your parents are always telling you, no, you can't have that, you can't have that. Can I have that? No, you can't. We don't have enough money. That's programmed into you so early
Mm-hmm.
that it becomes a poverty consciousness block, which you have to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
So it all stems, a lot of it, from in the womb to about 10 years old. There's a lot of the issues that most of us face.
Exactly. Even in psychology as well, like a lot of the trauma, I mean, depending on what the situation is for people, but I look about it in my own life as well. And I look about it in my sister's life, although I think I led a pretty good childhood, but there's always things that we don't understand about the world, what our parent tells us, and we interpret it as us being a bad kid or not good enough, or whatever people say about us, that we might not be smart enough, and all these things, they kind of leave like this residue with us. And even though we've grown into an adult form, we still carry the childhood. And I'm not talking about minor thing, but I like a big trauma that may have happened to a child and it stick around, like somebody who might have been abused as a kid or be physically violent by their mother or father or an aunt or an uncle. These trauma needs to be dealt with, and you work with that and try to help them overcome it and heal through the process, so that they can really, when we talk about expansion and to becoming fully authentic with ourselves, to lead a better life. And I think that one of our friends as well that we know, she is into this thing, healing and all that stuff, and she does a lot of stuff. I was super bright, and she said that you did some healing on her because she was sick for 2 weeks, and you were doing it from your own home and stuff, and she's gone to see so many other people, but she said that you did it and it worked so well for her. So I know, and just being in your present without you even having to do anything with me, and I don't even have any kind of trauma, it's just your present, you got to be next to Vic to really understand what I'm saying. So hopefully this radiates through the Zoom thing. But if he does energy healing with you guys, you are extremely lucky, because he has so much knowledge. He studies so much about it as well. And he's very humble in how he does things. And what I try to get out of Vic is like, being humble in the Asian culture is great, but you got to put yourself out there. And that's what I'm trying to do with Vic. And I want you to live to your true name, which is really manifesting all the power that has been given to you so that you can affect people. That's what you're here to do. So creativity and spirituality. I want to be able to end it with a quote that is important to you, Vic. Like, what would be the quote that you live by in order to propel you forward that means something to you?
That's a difficult one. The funny one that comes to me is that every bolt of creativity always finds the right nut.
Oh.
So like a bolt of lightning, it always hits the right nut. It finds the right crazy guy to hit. But if I had to think about one, I would say that everything is interconnected, and I have the fun job of finding the connections.
Yes, yes. And I'm so happy we are connected, interconnected, you from another place that I barely knew you, and we just synced in right away. So thank you for being in my life and for teaching me so much. And I'm so
Oh, thank
happy.
you.
We're going to be, I feel blessed to have you in my life and to be able to do this. Thank you for agreeing to be on my podcast.
Thank you for
I
having me. And I wish you a lot of luck with this podcast because I think you're doing an amazing thing.
Thank you so much. And there is a Zoom. You see my boyfriend going out and in, but that's part of the deal. And I take it as it comes because that's how I like to live.
Well,
I
he's
like to
dressed, so at least that's great.
we do, but thank you so much, Vic. And really, honestly, guys, if you're looking to learn more about creativity and to get some kind of trauma healing in terms of spirituality, definitely reach out to Vikram. And you can always write to me as well. I'll try to post and put his contacts information as well. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have an
Thank you,
amazing
Julie.
time.
Bye.
Bye.